Hello. So today I'm going to be working on some Apple IIs, and I hope you guys can see what I'm doing. Give me just a moment. So what I've got here is about 6 Apple IIcs, and I'm gonna work on them one at a time and see what we can figure out. Now the first one I've got here is what appears to be working, and I'm gonna see if I can use this as a test unit. Let's get that video going. Well, doesn't seem to want to output. Give me a minute to figure this out. Hey Garth, hey VHS, how's it going? There we go. Should be able to see the output of this now, I think. There it is. All right, cool. So this is one that I worked on ahead of time. It's kind of dirty, but I need one that's functional, so I have a base unit for messing around with. What I can do with this too is I can, oops, this keyboard might need work. But what I'm going to do here is see what version of the ROM's in here. So how you do that is you do print peek 64447. And did we lose that video again? This is not reliable. So that shows me 255, which tells me that this is an original first release ROM. So it doesn't have any built-in self-test. It doesn't have smart port support. It doesn't have anything. So what I'd like to do is, yeah, that cable is kind of loose. Somewhere around here, I have a ROM 4. I'm going to turn that off, and we're going to swap the ROM in there and do some tests. Oh, this one is totally screwed up, or screwed together. Let's take the disc out, and we'll take this little guy apart. The best ROM. 255 is not my favorite ROM. So the 2C has 6 screws that hold the case together, and then it's got 4 screws that hold the floppy drive in. And of course, there's 3 different kinds of screws within that, which is kind of a pain. I'll check the RCA connector. I don't know if it's that or if it's this kind of janky old cable. I might have to switch the cable. I just set up this composite capture, and I haven't got all the kinks out of it yet. The power just fluctuated. I hope that didn't hurt the stream. Just using my magnetic screwdriver to get these screws out of the holes. And I'm going to undo the floppy drive too, since I know this one works. I can mark it good and put it aside. Sorry, I can't speed up the unscrewing like on a pre-made stream or pre-made video, but you get to see how long it really takes to work on one of these. So I know Javier has his way of opening these. I have a different way. I usually come in from the back, not the front, because that tab's really fragile. The way I do these is I lift up the center over the connectors, which then loosens the sides. And you can usually get that out, and then you can get that out. Once you got that far, of course it's not going to cooperate. Come on. Well, it's hard to do it where it's sitting. I got all the screws out. This one wants to be a fighter. This may not have been opened before. All right, there we go. Back off. Now that, wow, there it goes. Wow, it's just really on there. I think somebody might have put glue in here. Weird. Anyway, the lid comes off. Take that and put it away. And then the keyboard should just flip up. It's just one ribbon cable. And this is not an Alps keyboard. This is a cheap, crappy one with the membrane under it. It types like complete garbage, but it works. And then you can get rid of the handle. And then the floppy drive is just a standard IDC 20, which is the same as pretty much any Apple II and early Macs. So this drive we know is good. So I've got my handy label maker here. And I'm going to label this so I can remember what's what when I'm done. So we're going to pick size 20, size 12. And then I'm going to write GOOD print. Of course, if I ever reassemble this into something that's for somebody else, I'll peel these off. But all right, so we know that's good. Get rid of some of this stuff we don't need right now. Now, while I'm in here, I'm going to do a ROM upgrade real quick. I need to wait for the soldering iron to heat up. And the way you do this is there's 2 points on this board. They're marked W1 and W2. And what you got to do is W1 you have to cut, and W2 you have to bridge. And that changes it so that it can read the larger ROM. I think this is a 128, and there's a 256, or it's something like that. The later ROMs are bigger, so you have to tell the board that you're going to be reading a bigger ROM. So I'm going to find something to cut that trace with. Thought I had a little tool for that. I can use this. This is very sharp. Just make sure you don't slip and damage something else on the board. It's basically a little bow tie that's designed to be cut. Let's see if that's good enough. Turn on my meter, and we're going for that. Is that right? Wrong mode. There we go, I think. Yeah. So these should be cut now if I did that right. Yep. And then this one over here needs to be bridged. So what I can do with that is, since it's just one little thing, I can use some this crappy little flux. And I need some solder. And we just bridge W2. Let's see if the soldering iron's hot enough. Yeah. Okay. That's all you should have to do with that. Let's see if that is bridged now. Yep. So that's good. And then, of course, you got to change the chip out. And the ROM is conveniently located right up here in the front. It's called MON on the board for ROM monitor, is where the MON comes from. So it looks like we got 6 people watching. It's a little better than I thought on a weekday in the daytime. I was going to do this earlier, but I had something come up. Anyway, I take out the original ROM, and I'm going to put in this burned EEPROM that has ROM 4X on it. This chip's labeled ROM 4, but it's really 4X. It's sort of an enhanced version that people have created. And then I'm going to place the floppy drive back here, but I'm not going to plug it in because I'm going to actually use something different. I have a W drive that I want to try out on this. Oops. So that plugs into that. And then this plugs in. Let me move that for a minute. This plugs into this. The only reason I'm putting the floppy drive here is because it holds up the keyboard. And one thing to note is that if you're going to start up an Apple IIe or a IIc, you need to have the keyboard installed or the computer won't boot right. So there's signals that go through that part of the system. All right. So let me hook up my composite cable again. Oh, and it is not loose. I think this cable just sucks. Hook up power. And I don't know if that capture card's going to work, but let's find out. Well, it's booting. Of course, the capture card is not getting it. This little capture thingy gets really hot. I think I might need to get something better. Anyway, I think that's working again. So what I can do is I've booted from Computer Inspector, and this is just a little sort of mini diagnostic program. So this shows me it's a Apple IIc, and it always gets the ROM version wrong with 128K. It sees all the built-in interfaces. And then you can do from here you can do a RAM test, which is pretty quick. So usually if there's something just completely screwed up, it'll find it really quick. So it passes that. But the best thing about this is having this ROM in is if I hold down both Apple keys while I'm turning it on, it'll go into self-test. And apparently this dies every time I restart the Apple II. Come on, show the video. I don't think this capture box likes the wonky Apple II video. It's probably part of the problem. Let me reset the actual box. Okay, come on. Well, you missed the whole thing, but it says system okay. Basically, it shows a bunch of crappy graphics all over the screen while it's testing. Yeah, Garth, I think that it's amazing that it works at all too. If I leave it all plugged in and just going onto into the Mac, it works fine. It's when you reset the Apple II that it just freaks out. So another thing you can do. No, that's not how you do it. No, it's not doing it. And it lost it again, didn't it? Let me reset this and then I can show you what I'm doing. Okay. So I'm gonna have to get something better than this if I'm gonna do Apple IIs on this channel. Part of testing is turning them on and off a lot, and if it's going to break every time I reset the computer, that's no good. So anyway, this shows what happens if you hold down closed Apple while turning it on, and when you have a ROM 4 in here, and you can do some cool stuff like you can go to the monitor directly, like the monitor prompt. You can reboot. You can zero out a RAM card if you have one installed, and I don't obviously have one in here. And then you can do the RAM card diagnostics. You can do regular old diagnostics, which I just ran, which were okay. And then you can tell it some drive commands, boot from SmartPort. So if you have an external, like a Unidisc 3.5, or you have a floppy EMU with the SmartPort image on it, you can just tell it directly boot from that and skip the internal and the external 5 1/4. And number 7 is actually kind of cool because if you say you have an internal drive that's screwy, but you have an external drive, you can tell it boot from that. The only thing is some programs just don't really work too well with that. Now, one cool thing you can do with this little W drive is you can just pick drive images that you want. So if I say, for example, I go over here and I hit load runner, I can reset the computer, which actually didn't break. Wow, that's amazing. And it boots load runner up. So instead of having to have a whole bunch of these things, which are getting harder and harder to keep working, you can just boot from images, and then you've got cool little games. Yeah, Garth, you can get the image online and then just burn the EEPROM. I don't remember off the top of my head which EEPROM version you need. I'm sure you can find it online though, or you can buy it. There's got a lot of guys in the Apple II group on Facebook and Tinker Different, I think, that they'll make you a ROM if you want, or they can get you the image. They usually just sell them for like $5. That's the wrong ROMs. I have some EEPROMs here, but I don't know if they're the right ones. This is a 256. I think that's too big. That's for a Mac thing. So anyway, this computer is working. So what I'm going to do is set it aside, and I'm going to pull out some of these other ones that are screwy. And now I've got a known working keyboard and known working floppy drive. I'm not going to concentrate so much on the floppy drives probably. I want to get through the motherboards and the keyboards on these. So let me turn this off, and we'll get to work on a few of these computers. I'm going to label this board good. Okay, that can come out. And that goes down there as a good part. And I'm going to put good on here. Good, good, good. Print. When I label the motherboards, I usually put the good thingy onto the CPU, so I know that it's good. I'll take this, and I'll put this aside. So the next one is one I got. It's pretty junky. The floppy drives usually just need to be cleaned. Sometimes you need to adjust the speed. And there's a little speed adjust hole on the bottom. Some of them, and there's a test I can show you how to run that tells you the speed. Some of them have a chip fail, and it just makes the speed infinite. And instead of saying like 0 to 255 on the speed, it will just say like some crazy number, or it'll just be stuck at 255. Before I take this completely apart, let's test the floppy drive and see if this one works. If it doesn't, we can take a look at it. And video. Sounds good. Let me put a disk in it and see what it does. Now it just says check disk drive. So let's see what ROM is in here. Oh, this keyboard is crunchy. Wow. Oh, and that membrane under the keyboard is falling apart physically. That's another 255. Okay. So how can I test the speed of that guy? I can run it. Let me turn it off. Trick I can do with this, since I don't have another ROM 4 and I don't really want to put it in this ugly machine, is I can hook this drive up externally, and I'm going to switch the camera back. I think it's still screwed in. Let's get that out of there. And I can tested that way. Usually what I do with these is test them on an Apple IIe, because then I can just plug them straight into a Disk 2 controller card, and then I can switch them around as needed. It's more of a pain on the 2C. And if you look right here, there's a little speed adjustment doohickey, which is fairly useless because you can't boot the machine. If you can't boot the machine because the speed's wrong, then you'd have to take the drive out anyway. All right, let's not break it. So this should come out now. There we go. And that is, oh, you know what? That's got some corrosion on it. I'm going to skip working on that drive. Let's just hook up a known good drive and make sure it can boot it. And I'll come back to that drive later. That's going to be a lot of work. Yes, meter. Okay. So let's put a good known good floppy. This one's ugly, but it works. Hook up my stuff. This is going to be a pain in the ass if I have to switch this every freaking time. All right, I'm going to need to get something different than that if I'm going to do a lot of testing. So the floppy drive works on here. So I know that the board is good. Now what I can do is boot it from that other program. Okay, I get it. Put this little guy here. I don't need to put the floppy back in. That's the wrong image. Let's get rid of that. All right, restart again. Don't let me down. I just don't get it. There it goes. All right, I'm back in this computer inspector program. So I'll just run the memory test from here. If anything is totally screwed up, it'll tell me. All right. Oops, I ran it again. Yeah, the only thing with using the external port is, unlike a Mac where every port is a port, on an Apple II, the ports are specific. So the internal port is slot 6 drive 1, and the external port is slot 6 drive 2. And you can't boot from drive 2, except if you have the ROM-X firmware, then you can choose that drive. But even then, stuff will still act weird and still try to use the internal port as drive 1. So for testing, I really want to hook up what I'm booting off of from the internal port, which is why I'm using this this W drive, because it basically acts like a 5 1/4 inch floppy that's internal on the 2C in place of the built-in one. Hey Rudy, how's it going? So this passed the memory test, and what I was going to do is I was going to run this disk drive test, and what it does is you can run the speed. I suppose I could hook that drive up externally, but I need another floppy cable. And I don't know if I have one. Not handy. Well, not long enough. Hang on, I got an idea. I can put the little baby one from the drive onto the W drive. So that'll be internal like that. You guys probably can't even see what I'm doing. I'm going to put that in there, and then I'm going to take a floppy emu DB19 adapter, and I'm going to use it on the external. So what I'll be doing is making this disc into sorry, let's see which way this goes. Right at the back. I'll be making this into drive 2 on slot 6. Let me make sure I got that right. If you put these on wrong, you can blow up the drive, so you got to be really careful. Let me get the meter out of the way. And we'll put that there. And let's see if we can get it to boot back into that. Check disk drive. What does that mean? Well, it doesn't seem to like it on this little cable. Is it all the way in? Yeah, Rudy, I saw that. I haven't messed around with that yet. Why does it not like this drive on this little cable, though? That's really bizarre. Nothing's shorted. Let me take this off, see what it does. All right, that's weird. It will boot when I don't have the external connected. So there might be something more wrong here than I thought. Give me a minute. Let me just reseat these cables. All right. No, you don't want to work. There's got to be a better way of doing this. Hang tight. There we go. You know, I'm not sure if I had it backwards or not. I just pulled it off and put it back on. I think I had it right. So I can go to disk drive test, drive speed. It's really hard to. Well, it's not even seeing the other drive. Why is that? Oh, I hate this keyboard. It doesn't even let me choose drive 2. So there must be something wrong with this drive beyond that. I'm going to turn it off real quick, and I'm going to run it off the internal bus and just see if it still behaves normally or if I plugged it in backwards and screwed it up. The connector on the board is notched, but the one on the drive is not. Well, it still sounds normal. All right, well, what we're going to do is come back to that in a minute. Let's go on to the next board and thing. I want to get through the Apple IIs in the time I've got today. I'm going to mark this. Oops, I'm going to mark this motherboard as good. This seems to pass. It's good enough. And also, this one has Oki Japanese RAM chips in it, not that MT stuff. So the likelihood is that this is going to be a good board. The only thing that I don't like about this machine is this case that it came with. It's really yellow to start off with, but then it's got engraving. And it also, I don't know if you can see it, I'll try to show you on the camera, the top was smashed in and it's bent. So I have to like bend it back. Excuse me. And honestly, I don't know if it's worth trying to heat that up and get it to bend flat when there's so much junk on here. And this is engraved like into the thing. I think it might be better to use these electronics in a case that's better, that has bad electronics. So I'm going to move on to the next one in the pile. Oh, and I'm going to write bad on here for now so I don't get them mixed up. Hey, Ron, I didn't see you come in. Sorry. How's everybody doing? I should go through who's here. Got Garth, Rudy, Ron. I saw VHS before. If I missed anybody, Rudy, let me know. So I'm going to write bad on this floppy drive and put it down here. Okay, so this one's got the space bar off, but we got an Alps keyboard in there, so that's kind of cool. If you don't know, the Alps keyboards are from the later 2Cs and from the 2C Plus, and they're much better components than the early squishy ones. This one is a little bit fragile. All right, if I'm not on camera, but I got to hold this the way I got to hold it. There we go. So take the back off. When you take these off, make sure you're careful of this little tab at the front. A lot of people seem to think that's where you're supposed to pry it open. So I find these with a lot of these with pry marks here and down here. And it's really not how you want to open it up because you're going to damage the plastic there. And if you do damage something back here, like somebody opened this and slightly cracked this. This happened before me. At least it's on the back of the machine and you're not going to see it. So let's see what we got in here. This one is weird. I don't know if you can see that, but it looks like somebody cut the jumper to put a better ROM in it and then undid the work. That's bizarre. 2.7, which version of the ROM is this? It's a original ROM. Somebody stole a ROM, because a computer with an Alps is not going to ever be an original ROM. These were always later machines. Let me see if I can put the key back, the spacebar back on here. I don't know why it was off. These are a little bit fiddly. It'll take me just a minute. Put that up. Put that in. I might be able to get this in one try. Probably not. That's good enough. Let's put half on. All right, so Rudy, I've got 6 of them here. A bunch of them are in pretty rough shape, though. I'm not thinking I'm ever going to get 6 out of this. Well, you can't see it, but it came on and it's showing a bunch of garbage characters on the screen. And oh, this has got MT RAM in it, and it looks like somebody's already been here and changed some of it. I bet you the rest of it's bad. So the 2C has 128 megs of RAM. That's these 16 chips that are going up the side here. This lower part is the regular RAM, like what you find in a 2E, and then this part up here is what you'd find in on a 2E's 80 column card. But looking in here, there's 1, 2, 3 chips that have been replaced, and not very well. And then the other, what is it? Other 13 chips are the original MTs from '84. The only real way to solve this problem is to take all of this out and put all new RAM in. I'm not going to trust any of this MT stuff. And the fact that somebody's been in here and worked on this, it's always worse. So this will probably become its own video, I think. I know the power works. Does the sound work? It's making a crunching noise, but I'm getting weird random characters on the screen. Let me see if I can show you that. Is that going to work? It's kind of trippy. I'd like you to be able to see it. Come on. Mega trash. That's not wrong. Come on, show me that video. It might be because it's in a crashed state that it's not going to output even the normal CRUD it normally puts out. But I'll give it one more try. 3, 2, 1, try. No, doesn't like it. Anyway, it's putting out just a bunch of weird, crazy, colorful garbage. So what I think we're going to do with this one is mark it that I need to replace the RAM. And if you're wondering why I don't just write a note on a sticky pad, those Post-its, they fall off of stuff. And sometimes it takes me a while to get to things. And then I find a Post-it note in the bottom of a box or on the ground or wherever that has notes on a computer, and now I have no idea what computer it goes to. I find that if I use a label and I stick it straight on, I can have a better chance of coming back and finding something good. So let me turn that off. The composite connector on this one is a little woggly, but I have a bag of those, of newer modern replacements, the same form factor. Once I have a machine fully going, I can go ahead and swap that out, but I don't think that's the case here. The video was actually really strong on the CRT I've got in front of me. There's something goofy with the composite going out of that monitor. It's a PVM into my adapter, and then it's like it loses sync. And if I unplug the HDMI cable that's coming out of that, that's when it comes back on. But in any case, this case is a little yellowed. So what we might end up doing here is, at least temporarily, I would take this case, retrobrite it, and put the known good electronics from that really jacked up case. And that way, let me just try one more thing real quick before I just thought of something. No, okay. Now there's definitely a RAM issue on this board. And at the moment, I don't feel like fixing 3 chips that somebody else soldered that looked like they were put in by a monkey, like worse than my own soldering. And also, I don't think I've got 16 of those chips in my stash at the moment. Let me just put that on there temporarily. I left the floppy drive out because I want to test it. But we'll get to that when we get to that. I'm going to go to the 4th machine. And this one actually looks pretty good. It's yellow, but I don't think this one's been messed with at all. This one has a sticker from Sun Remarketing on the back. If anybody knows who that is, they used to sell used Apple II and Mac stuff back in the 80s and early 90s. Let's fire this one up and see what we get. It's a good sound. I'm not going to try with that composite thingy until we're sure we need it again. So let me try booting a real floppy. I think I left it over here. Yep. Oh, this one does have a wonky composite out. There we go. Well, the floppy in here works. Let's see what version of ROM we have. This keyboard type's pretty nice. Oh, so here's a ROM 0. I guess you can't see that very well. So when you type print peak 64447, it looks at that location, and that's where it stores with the ROM version. ROM 0 is the first version after 255, which was the original. This version adds SmartPort support. So like you could boot a SmartPort hard drive image or a 3.5-inch floppy from this version, which is pretty cool. Ron, that would be so cool. I want one of those old like the ones that make the impression into the plastic. I used to have one. I don't know what happened to it. I don't even know if you can buy the tapes for it anymore, though. But okay, so this computer seems to be okay. Let's see, since it's got a ROM 0, that means I should be able to run the self-test by holding down both Apple keys while I turn it on. Of course, it's going to break the connection for you guys when I do that. So what I'm seeing is a bunch of colored blocks. And it's taking longer than it normally would take, as far as I can tell. So all the beeps at the end mean system okay. That means it passed the RAM, ROM, CPU tests. I already booted it from a floppy, so I know that that works. But I still want to take it apart. Whoops. Because I want to look at that composite connector. And I want to look at, I want to test the other floppy drive for that, the previous machine. So let's do that. Now I'm going to move this over here. Yeah, VHS. I probably will do that. I have another camera. I had this stupid idea where I would take a camera and an extra monitor, and I would put the camera just pointing at the screen and get all the settings perfect, and then just put something over the whole thing instead of trying to use a capture device. And then I don't have to worry about sync and frame rates and all that crap. And I could just set it up on a shelf, and whatever I pump in that monitor would just show up on the stream. I might do that, because this thing seems to work, but only if you don't turn it off. As soon as it tries to reacquire the signal, it just stops sending for some reason until you unplug and plug the HDMI, and then even then it only works part of the time. So anyway, I'm taking all the screws out of here. Like I said before, be careful with the screws. There's 3 styles usually. Some of them only have 2, but the disk drive's got machine screws. The front 4 are these weird, they look almost like wood screws or something. And then the screws in the back can sometimes be the same as the ones in the front on a few machines I've seen, but usually they're these more like, I don't know, they're not machine screws. They're just, regular old screws. More like what you would use in wood, I would think. I don't know why Apple used that stuff. The machine screws is because the drive is made by Alps, and it's a Japanese drive. They don't use weird US sizes, so Apple had no choice really. So let's see if I can open this guy up. I usually go for it right there in the middle. This one may not have been open in a while or ever. That side's off. That side's off. And then that's off. Take the handle out. I'm leaving the handles out of all these because then I can clean them all at one time. So, oh, this is lucky. This is another Alps keyboard. So, and usually if you find a ROM 0 or 3 later Apple IIc, you'll get an Alps keyboard. And you can hear the difference. Like, that's the same mechanism as an Apple IIgs keyboard, while this is like this spongy piece of crap. This one, and these usually always just work. The only thing you usually have to do is clean the keys, maybe retrowrite the space bar. But these are great. So first thing I'm going to do is take this floppy drive out. And I'm going to write good on it because we know it works. And of course, I write good on stuff when I'm just doing preliminary testing. Later on, especially if I were to sell any of this to somebody, I'll do a speed check on it. I'll do diagnostic on it. There's a bunch of other programs you can run. Some of the old Apple II Plus programs actually have a lot more cool disk drive utilities. So this is the one I took out of machine number 3 that had the memory problems. I'm going to see if it works in this good machine. Let's put this in here. Okay. Give me a floppy disk. And power composite. And I know you can't see that, but I'm just doing this real quick. It does boot the floppy drive that was out of that third machine. So that means we got another good floppy. That's awesome. Only one bad so far. Now, if you have a 2C with a bad floppy drive, and either you can't fix it or it's just destroyed, and I'll show you what that could be like. This floppy drive is a 2C floppy drive. It came out of a machine that was under water. It was a water damaged machine. The whole thing is rusted and corroded and basically junk. The head is destroyed. The motor doesn't work. So in this case, you can't really fix this. So what do you do if you want another one? Well, you can't obviously buy 2C floppy drives new anymore. So you don't want to have to buy a whole nother 2C to get one. You can go look for the drive as a part. But the other thing you can do is look for a 2C external drive. And the mechanism is identical, other than the fact that there is a red light right there that you don't need on here. But otherwise, it's the same exact thing. Now, this is an additional floppy drive that I want to test, which is actually from machine number 5, but it's already apart, so I'm going to test it here since I know that this machine works. Let's put that together. I forgot to grab that disk again. Always remember to close your 2C's drive because it's really easy to slide something across and break the door off, and these doors are hard to find now. The reason that they're missing from that broken drive is because I already repurposed it. Now let's see if this drive boots. Some previous version of me wrote good on it, so it's probably okay. Yeah, that boots too. And then, I know you can't see it, I'm sorry for that. And then the last thing I can do with this machine, since it has a ROM 0, is I can run this test again. Now look at the chat while we're waiting for that to finish. Yeah, Rudy, the thing is, if it's running, like say I boot the Apple II and I get the capture thing working, and say I want to just get on a stream and play Load Runner or something like that for an hour, that would be fine. It's when I turn off the computer where it drops, and it won't reset until I either reset the composite adapter or I unplug the HDMI connector. And if I'm testing like I'm doing now, that's just a pain in the butt. The only thing I can think of is to make something where the USB power to the adapter would go off with the computer and then come back on with the computer. That might work, but that's a pain to set up. Hey, Justin, how you doing? So this machine is good, and this keyboard is awesome. I'm going to take the floppy out and put it in my pile of floppy drives. I'm getting close to the end here. I've only got 2 more of these to work on today. And I was going to do this stream earlier and have a whole bunch of time to screw around, but I had something come up and I couldn't do it. So Oh, I should label this board while I'm in here. So what I intend to do with these boards is, and these computers, is when I'm done, oh, there's a lot of dust in here. This is going to have to get a good clean on the inside. I'm going to put together as many as I can that work. I'm going to retrobrite the shells, clean the keyboards, and I'm probably going to have a couple of them for sale because I don't really need this many Apple IIcs. Now this next one, we're getting into some of the crummier stuff here. This next one, I actually retrobrited this case some time ago, and looks pretty good, but it's got a really screwy keyboard. This keyboard is one of the crummy ones. It's missing some keys. But what I wrote on here, bad logic board, missing screws, missing chips. Well, if it's missing chips, we might not even get to do much with this. Let's see what's in here. This might just become a shell. I think that might be why I saved it. Become a shell for another machine. One thing about these cases too is the more you open them, the easier they open, which is probably not good because it probably means it's getting weaker, but oh well. So here's another handle. That one's pretty dirty. What do we got in here? Oh, this is the melty board. I don't know if I ever told anybody about this board before. This is the one I put in the ultrasonic cleaner and I left it in there too long. And the silk screen, a lot of the silk screen just sort of melted off. I don't know if you can see that, but it's sort of ridiculous. It's just sort of floated around and then reattached itself onto the board just randomly. Now the thing with this board is I've already started scavenging parts off of it. So it's missing its volume control. It's missing a chip here. I don't remember what chip that is, and I don't have a silk screen to remind me. And this was a cost-reduced version, so it's missing a bunch of components here that just weren't there from the factory, which made the sound worse. This was actually modified to run a higher ROM, but the ROM itself's missing. And they soldered the character ROM on, which is unusual. And the US character ROM is got 4 less pins than the international. Like if you're in the UK or in Australia, you'd have a bigger chip than that. And then to top it all off with this piece of crap board, the RAM is all 1984 MT, which means it's probably all bad. So this is basically just a parts unit. It's probably why I put this crummy keyboard in, just to keep it company. This keyboard has got rust on it. It's from the machine that rusted floppy drive was in. And about half the keys on here do not work. I've already tested this. I was saving this for spare keys. And in fact, one of these, yeah, this one with the awful case that I got recently that's dented. It's missing a 0, so it's going to get donated from here. Use my fancy keyboard cap puller. Get in there. There we go. So that loses another key, but this gains one. And you can tell how dirty that keyboard is because I previously cleaned this one. But this keyboard is savable. This keyboard is not. So let's set that aside. I got one more junker. Give me a sec. Here's another fun one. Hey, Justin, that was actually my question, if it would work, when I was watching your stream the other day. This one has no screws in it already, so I must have been in here. I'm going to open it before I try to power it. It's all loose. This might just be another parts machine. Oh, that's not good. Speaker is just floating around in here. I wonder how that happened. So yeah, this case is also bad. It's physically okay, but it's got engraving here. It's got writing here. I don't know. I don't understand. It says 4J just like the other one. This might be from the same school district. There's a lot of those ones from Oregon floating around. It could still be used. It would just have this little tiny, 6 characters on it. Not a big deal. But what do we got inside here? We have one of the crappy keyboards, but I took the membrane out of this one apparently, so they type better when when that membrane comes out. Well, I don't see anything missing. It's got Oki RAM in it. Maybe it works. I don't know. Let's give it a try. There are no screws in here, so I must have done a lot of work on this or something. Maybe I changed the RAM chip. I don't remember. Oh, I need a keyboard. Plug that in. Like I said, if you don't have a keyboard plugged in, the computer is not going to act normal. Wow, that's amazing. I'm actually getting a normal boot. Except, oh, the speaker was unplugged. I don't want to put that in there in case I end up retrowriting this, but I'll just temporarily set it there. Let's see if that works. Yeah. Okay. So let's see what ROM we got. See if I can get this to work for a minute. Come on. No, you don't want to work? There it goes. See if that'll work for 3 seconds. All right, I'm not supposed to do that, but I'm going to do it anyway. Check disk drive. Doesn't like it. Probably have to power it. No, that's weird. Sorry, you can't see this because I started it over again. I'll just do this. It doesn't like the W drive. So let me try it with the floppy that we know works. Just to rule that out. Plug this guy in here. And get our test disk. Oh, that's weird. It doesn't start the floppy drive. Something must be bad on this board. Wow, that's not a problem I think I've ever seen before. Hillbilly, the speaker is, I have a regular tape measure here, 1.5 inches. But so this computer seems to work. But what version of the ROM is this? 272A. It's a 255. But the floppy interface is bad. So that might mean a bad IWM chip. I've never actually seen one of those fail on these before. Let's see. It says check disk drive. What happens if I do PR number 6? Tries. Let me turn it off. This might require research to figure out why. Yeah, it doesn't know what to do. Okay. Any of you Apple II people in the audience ever seen it where it won't even attempt to boot from a floppy drive? Because that's a new one on me. Let me just see what happens on the external port, if anything. No, it's not set backwards. I guess not. Well, that's kind of a downer way to end it. I thought this machine would be okay. Keyboard feels okay for one of these squishos. This motherboard looks really weird. Like it's all the writing on it is blurry. I don't know if somebody cleaned it or if it's just a weird revision. You can't hardly read the chips. I think somebody cleaned it with the wrong stuff. But what I can probably do, not in today's video, but in a future video, is try to swap this IWM out. And I can probably take it from that other board that's got all the MT RAM on it. But they're both soldered. And I can remove those dips. Do I want to do it on a live stream? I don't know. It's hard enough to do that kind of work without having people watch it. I might do some of it, but we'll see. It's weird that this computer works other than that, though. Yeah, it's a ROM 255. But I can write a program. Wait a minute. I have an idea. I have this thingy right here. Does that do anything? No. Apple II Plus ROM. Anyway, I can't get the composite to work again. And try one more thing. All right. I unplug that. Plug that. Unplug this. Plug this. Oh, there we go. Okay. Swap it on camera. Yeah, maybe. Not today, though. That could be a stream I can do. I'm going out of town in a day. But maybe next week I can do that. It'd be kind of fun. The only thing is I don't know if I have a socket that size. Let's see, how big is that chip? Same as this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13. It's a 28 pin. I don't think I have a socket for that, but I can probably scavenge a socket out of one of the other boards. So the ROM uses the same size. But anyway, you should be able to see the output of the Apple II here. And what's weird is if I just cancel booting, it works like a normal Apple II. I don't get it. And 30 go to 20. I'm getting no errors. I just can't boot from a floppy drive or from the W drive, which is just bizarre. Oh, I took the speaker out, but the speaker worked when I started it up with the speaker, so the sound is good. So if you want an Apple II with no way to run any software, this is awesome. But that'll be something we got to fix on another stream. So I'm going to run out of time today. I only have about 10 minutes left in my allotted time. Let me label this up, and then I'll ask. Well, I'll ask now. Anybody have any questions or want to see something on the next stream? It'll probably be another weekday stream next week, and then the following weekend I'll probably do something, and I'll probably do something at night, but a little bit less monotonous than looking at 6 Apple IIcs. No floppy. No boot. That's good. Yeah, but Justin, it's better than no Apple II at all. But if you can't run anything, I mean, it'd be like having an Apple II in 1977, because you can write your own software, but you can't. I'm gonna put the sticker on the IWM. You can't do anything else. You can't even save anything. There's no cassette interface on this. Yeah, Garth thought I should do some Apple II stuff because there is a lot of Mac stuff. I know there's people with Apple II channels, but you don't really see people taking stuff apart like that. Javier has done it a couple times. I've seen, like, Rudy, I think, has some stuff. I really haven't watched I haven't even really searched for a whole lot of Apple II stuff, honestly. I just kind of let YouTube figure out what I like, and it usually gives me a bunch of Mac stuff. So, I thought this would be kind of cool just to check it out. It's something I had to do anyway because I wanted to go through these and mark them, and then I can go ahead and fix. So we'll go through this here just to see what we got. So this one works. This is machine 6, but it won't boot from a floppy, which is really weird. And then out of the other ones, we have 4 that work and 1 that doesn't. So that's 4 that work and 2 that don't. And then out of floppy drives, we have 1, 2, 4 working floppy drives out of 6. And then for keyboards, we have this really squishy one that I can probably fix up, and I can use some this Magic Juice Deoxit. Put that in a key switch, and you push it 9 million times after you take this crappy rubber membrane off, and it will make the keyboard work okay. But we got 2 Alps keyboards and 2 squishy keyboards. Let's see, that one doesn't count. So 1, 2, 3. I actually have 5 keyboards, and 2 of them are Alps. So that means I've got an extra keyboard, assuming that I can't fix those 2 junk ones. Hey, Retro Techie, how's it going? No, there's nothing. There's no contest, and I already made you a mod, so sorry. So apparently I got an extra one of these, and the other thing is I've got some of the Mac Effects replacement keyboards coming too, so I'll probably have at least 1 extra beyond that, because I'd rather use a new keyboard than this sort of old squashed leaf spring thing, whatever it is. Yeah, Retro Techie, you can get a channel shout out. You play a lot of games on your channel. Sometimes it's fun. Sometimes it's too new for me. I'm an old guy, but it's a fun channel to go to. And of course, we've got Justin here. He's got an awesome channel. Rudy's here. Same thing. His channel's cool. And I saw Ron a while ago. His channel's all right. But I'm also trying something new out here with having the chat in a spot where I can see it from the workbench. You can probably see it from the above camera. It's just this crappy little tablet that lets me see the YouTube chat. But that's basically what I had planned for today. If anybody has any other questions, let me know. But otherwise, I'm gonna start getting ready to end the stream. I did leave that floppy disk in that drive again, which is really annoying. And then I'll never be able to find it. Where is it? Where'd you go? Nope. Nope. Of course, it's the last one I looked in. What's your question, Retro Techie? Hillbilly, I can text you on, I can message you on Twitter later. I have something to do. I've got something to do right after this. Yeah, Justin, I watched the roundup. That was pretty cool. I didn't see the whole thing. That time always seems to conflict with stuff for me. Anyway, what I'm going to probably do the next time I'm on here is probably see if I can replace that RAM. And I'm going to have to order some. I can try to do that IWM swap. I got to make sure. I would really rather have a socket for that before I go ahead and try that. I don't want to try to resolder an old socket. Another thing I've got to do is I got to try to repair a floppy emu that's broken, which sounds really weird. It's not really an old thing, but it's for an old thing. And then I got something that Ron suggested. He wants me to use an Apple II SCSI card, and I've got one here. This is a clone of an Apple Rev C, and take a blue SCSI, not that one. Probably easier to use this one. You can't even see that. And plug in a blue SCSI into an Apple II, and then see if I can get Total Replay or another disk working off of it. And then he wants the image that I get to work off of it, so he can copy it onto an Apple IIe card and use it there. For some reason, he says it won't work if you just create it on the Mac. Jameco is having a clearance sale. I'll take a look at that. I need some 4164s to, or no, I think they're 4164s for the Apple II stuff, and I need some 41256s for the 2GS. But anyway, I'm going to play around with this probably early next week, the SCSI project. And if I get it at least started, I'll make a stream or a video about it. I don't know that very many people have done a blue SCSI on an Apple IIe, so we'll see. And the same thing should work on a 2GS. And I have a real Apple one of these cards, but it's in the box. I don't really want to open it up. But this is a direct clone, and I know this card works. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and end the stream now. And I appreciate you guys all coming out and taking a look and hanging out for a little while. So you can always reach me on Twitter. I'm at Hulkintosh, or the other places to find me. And you'll probably all see me on other streams too. So let me know if you need anything. But have a good evening, and I'll talk to you later.